Hey friend, how you been? So today we're going to talk about inspiration and finding inspiration when you're going through a creative slump, creative block, creative rut, whatever you want to call it. When you're just lacking the inspiration or the motivation to create new things. Let's get into some tips. So we have 7 different tips that I'm going to go over today. I'll go through some of the things that I've done in the past personally when I've been feeling like I've been lacking creatively or like not feeling in a space to create new art, not feeling inspired, not feeling motivated. These are some of the things that I do myself personally when I am needing a bit of a creative boost. And the first tip that I want to talk about is, I know, hear me out, meditation. We're getting right into it. And I know meditation may come across as something that feels like very woo-woo sometimes and very like, I feel like a lot of people don't like to meditate or maybe they don't know how to meditate. But my tip is to meditate with intention. And when I say that, I mean like literally just taking time to yourself for a set period of time, whether it's 5 minutes. I would start with 5. If you don't typically meditate, I would start with 5 minutes. Take that time to yourself, by yourself. Put on some lo-fi or calm music without any sound or anything, classical music, jazz music, something calming, right? Something to make you feel like more reflective, whatever that is for you. And just like set a 5-minute timer and just sit in silence and just kind of be still for a minute. And I feel like just like having that moment of relaxation and calm just kind of like helps calm your mind and calm your spirit. And I know it may not come easy at first, but like just trying to clear your mind is the goal, right? And just like calming yourself is the goal, and kind of like resetting and recentering yourself is the goal. Because I feel like a lot of times, especially when we're like in a rut and we're not feeling like we can't find that inspiration as creatives, right? We get in our heads about it a lot. And so one thing you can do is just to take time to pause and center and reflect. And whatever comes up from that meditation, let that be that. Another way, if you're not used to like meditating, find like a meditation on YouTube for like the sacral chakra, because that's like your creative space here. As far as the chakras, that's the one that kind of rules the creative space. So maybe just do like a little sacral chakra meditation, quick 5 minutes or something to help kind of get those creative juices flowing. Another way I would say is doing like some type of like stretching, even if it's just quiet stretching, taking 5 minutes to yourself in the morning or before you start creating, and just kind of sit quietly and stretch your body, move your body, and just kind of have that stillness. The next one I want to say is, and you might not want to hear this because I don't be wanting to hear this, clean your space. Whatever space that you use to create in, whether you have a studio, whether you have a workspace, whether you just have a corner of your living room, wherever your desk is, wherever your thing that you are going to be doing, you're creating, like clean it, organize it, straighten things up, get rid of clutter, get rid of things that you're not using, move things that don't need to be there. Like clearing that space will really, I feel like, help like center the energy a little bit better, and then you can be more focused. Like once you remove all the clutter and stuff and things that don't need to be there and straighten up, like it helps to kind of like, I feel like reset, rebalance the energy of the space. And typically when you're in, you know how it is, what do they say? Cluttered space make a cluttered mind. Did I just make that up? I heard that somewhere before, but that's kind of what it is. And when you're in a space where you want to create, it really helps to have a space that is clear and ready to create, even if that means setting up all your tools in advance before you even start creating, clearing the space, setting up everything you need, so when you walk into that space you can just start. You know what I mean? So that's the next one. Another tip that I love and I feel like it's done me pretty well is keeping a small sketch pad with you. I feel like having a sketch pad that's like small enough to fit in your purse, your pocket, your bag, or even something you can keep by your like bedside table or your desk or wherever you're working. Something that you can just kind of pick up and sketch real quick whenever like inspiration strikes. And I would definitely say keep it with you as much as possible, or at least keep it somewhere where you can easily access it, and just make like little small sketches here and there. You can even set up a routine to say like, okay, I'm going to spend a few minutes in the morning before I start my day to just sketch some quick things. One thing I like to do is make little, like, I call them storyboards, but they're not. They're more like thumbnails. So I'll literally just draw little rectangle canvases, little miniature in my little notebook, and I'll just sketch in any like those little grids, I guess, to make little mini sketches or mini drawings or mini pieces of art that I want to like take further later. Or I'll just sketch really quickly in like a little notebook, something like this size, pretty small. Something like this, I feel like would be pretty good. And then you can just keep it with you and sketch as you need it. But I feel like when you make like small sketches, quick sketches, rough sketches, whenever the inspiration strikes, or whenever like you're bored and you're like don't really have much to do. If you're anything like me, I tend to doodle a lot when I'm just kind of like either spacing out or I'm just kind of somewhere else. I just like kind of absentmindedly doodle. Even those doodles, right? Like I feel like it's something that's like less pressure, it's less risk. It's just like these quick bursts of creative ideas that you can return to later when you're ready to create. And you already have like a starting point for any new projects that you want to work on. And it can even be words or phrases or quotes or any random thing that comes up. Just write that down and you have like a little creative journal that you keep with you, and kind of helps generate those creative juices. Especially, I feel like sometimes we tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves to create masterpieces and works of art, and sometimes those little sketches is like just what you need to kind of like build your inspiration and your creative spark up, if that makes sense. And another thing that I feel like it's really, really good is visiting a museum or some type of gallery or even some type of like location that will create inspiration or interest. Even like a conservatory. I went to a conservatory a couple weeks ago and I feel like it was really, really inspiring seeing all the plants and the nature and all of these things. So I feel like going into a creative atmosphere or even like a calming atmosphere can be helpful to generate that creativity and gain some inspiration. I mean, maybe you find some new artists or new styles of art that intrigue you, things like that. I feel like that could be really helpful just to kind of get out of our own creative space and our own creative head and kind of like be inspired or motivated by different types of art, other types of art and art styles and different techniques and things like that. I think can be really helpful. And when you're in a space where you're just like, I wouldn't even say go in or like, I'm gonna be inspired to create art today. I say go in with an open mind of just like, I am just gonna be a viewer of the art. I'm just gonna be here like taking in this art and being like the audience, I guess. Is that the word I'm looking for? The viewer of the subject matter. Go in from a space of like that, like being on the other side of the canvas, so to speak, instead of the one painting or creating whatever mode of art that you use, but like putting yourself in the shoes of like the audience and the viewer, just coming from a space of like awe and wonder, I guess, as opposed to like, I'm gonna come in here and get inspiration. I think it's just like a little different. Just like kind of take some of the pressure off. But I think that is also a good thing that you can do, just to kind of, have that awe and wonder, and that can kind of generate inspiration and create a spark. One thing that is really helpful for me in my creative process is music. Music is like a very, very important part of my process. Even if I'm not creating, just listening to music in general, sometimes like I literally start to create works of art in my head, in my mind, and I get ideas that way. It's just something about like, it's almost similar to like going to the museum and looking at other people's art. Music is also a form of art. So it's almost like you're like partaking in this art form and intaking someone's form of art, and you can gain inspiration that way, like feeling whatever mood or vibe that song or that music or that body of work represents. I think that could be a really useful way to gain some creative inspiration. And if you're going to sit down to create something, like set the vibe, build a playlist, or play a certain album or something. Sometimes for me, if I'm listening to music and something like catches me and I'm like, yes, I'm in the zone, I will listen to that song on repeat until I'm done working on whatever piece I'm working on. Because once you find that flow and once you're in that space, like you ride that creative wave. So definitely music. I don't know if other creatives are like me, who like music really sometimes drives my art, but if that's not your thing, maybe find find like a playlist on YouTube, like binaural beats or something like that. They have different ones for like creative, like you can really probably search like creative inspiration playlist or set the vibe playlist. I don't know, they got all types of stuff, but just find like a random lo-fi playlist on YouTube or something, or like I said, some binaural beats or classical music. I know it may sound crazy for some people, but classical music, I don't know, it can really take you there. Or some jazz, get you some jazz going and just like vibe out. Just trust me, try it. And we're almost through the list, so we're getting there. I wanted to keep this video short and sweet. But the next thing I would say, hear me out, sleep. It sounds simple, but sleep. Trust me, whether you're taking a nap or just like getting ready to go to bed for the night, setting some type of intention before you go to sleep for a burst of inspiration, I feel like it's really, really helpful. I sometimes really would get ideas in my dreams, and even without me setting that intention, it just happens. That's just one way that I tend to get inspiration and create. But I feel like even taking the moment to like write a note to yourself before bed, or say a few words to yourself before you go to sleep, saying like, you know what, like I really want to get a creative idea or a creative spark, or show me something that will inspire me. I feel like before you go to sleep, especially when you're like, what's that form of sleep when you're like almost sleep but not fully sleep, I feel like your consciousness is like the most subjective, and that is a time where you can kind of set these intentions, right? Even if you're just saying affirmations to yourself, like I am creative, I have new ideas, I'm a great artist, like new creative ideas find me even without me trying. Like all these different affirmations or things that you can do. You can even write down some affirmations or record some affirmations for yourself before you go to sleep, but just have that intention before you go to sleep that it can help generate new ideas. And I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, like I've woken up from a nap like, oh, where did that come from? And I'm just like ready to create. But just try it, okay? The last thing that I will have for this video, this is the 7th tip. Read books. I know. Read books. I know it may sound a little counterproductive, but they don't have to be specific books. Like they can be fiction books, just something that is like a great story and like kind of takes you to a different space or a different world for a little bit, just to kind of get out of the normal routines or mundaneness of life or whatever. Like read fiction books, read books that make you feel happy, they bring awe and wonder, even if they're freaking kids books, you know what I mean? Like the youth novels, YA, young adult novels. I love those fantasy books. Like I will read them, or the audiobooks, like I will listen to them, that magical, mystical world stuff, just to kind of like, I don't know, like boost your creative inspiration. Also, I recommend the book by Rick Rubin. Is it The Creative Act? And I listened to the audiobook for that. Yeah, The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. I really recommend that book. It is actually a book for creatives and artists, and it was very inspiring for me. I was only like a few chapters in, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, burst of inspiration. I'm like writing down ideas and all this stuff. So that is the book that I recommend. Another book that I'm reading that I just started is called Art and Faith by Makoto Fujimura. I got this from the library. I love the library, y'all. But this book I started reading and I'm really enjoying it. The author talks about how faith and spirituality and art kind of like correlate, and just the way that he writes and the way the book reads is almost like a form of art in itself. It's like a form of poetry, it feels like. So I have really been enjoying that, and I feel like it's really given me a lot of inspiration. I would say the same for Rick Rubin's book. Just the way it's written, I feel like it makes you feel, I don't know, it's not like a regular book. Like the way it's written, it feels like poetry. I don't know if that makes sense. But another thing you can do, first of all, like get a library card. Go to the library, and I would recommend pulling books from either your ancestral or cultural heritage or history, because there are different types of cultures and cultural art and traditional art and historical art that they have in these books. Like even if it's not your own culture, like just look at other people's cultures and like the history of art. I feel like you can get a lot of inspiration that way. I tend to lean more towards looking into like African art in different areas, whether it's like Nigeria, Ghana, Congo, like Bantu. Like I tend to lean more towards books like that, and getting inspiration from like different cultures, like especially if it's your own culture or ancestral heritage. Like that could really be a good spark of inspiration, tapping into your own culture and your own like ancestry, and finding inspiration from like historical art pieces, whether it's sculptures or paintings or whatever it may be. And those like traditional ways of making can bring about inspiration, I feel, especially because I feel like it's like more connected to you, and I feel like that can help bring up some creative inspiration. I feel like a lot of times, especially today, we spend a lot of time on social media. Let me speak for myself. And we are consuming a lot of people's art, and a lot of the art just starts to look the same at a point. But if you kind of look back to before, I feel like you can get a lot of new, fresh ideas, and kind of like change your way of thinking because you're like looking in a whole new space. I think that is definitely helpful, but it doesn't have to be any book in particular, just like something that brings you joy, something that makes you happy, something that inspires you, something that motivates you, like whether it's a motivational self-help book about like how to get my life together so I can feel better and think better and see better and dream better and create better, right? Whatever that may be for you. And so finally, I want to say that it is normal to feel weird or nervous or uncertain when you haven't created for a long time, especially as artists, right? It may feel like a lot of pressure to sit down to create a new piece or create a new work of art. I know that because I've recently dealt with that, and it just feels like I must create something great. I must create a masterpiece because I haven't created in so long. And it's just like, no, don't do that to yourself. Like you really don't. You just have to start. That's literally step one. And I remember sitting there recently looking at this paper like, I don't really even know where to start because I feel like I haven't done this in so long. But it was like I just started sketching, just started sketching quick sketches or something, just something that like doesn't matter, right? And then you move to the big paper or the canvas or your iPad screen, your digital art screen, right? I feel like you just start small and like let go of the pressure, set the vibe, set the mood, put some music, light some candles, whatever you got to do to set your vibe, have quiet time, uninterrupted, you know what I mean? And just let it flow and set the intention there, like that there are no expectations. You know what I mean? Because I feel like sometimes we tend to put a lot of pressure on things when we sit in front of, this blank space to create something new. Just say there are no intentions. There's no pressure. No one's going to see this, even if that's what you say, and you can choose to share it or not. But that's my tips. Those are things that have helped me when I have been in a space of feeling like I'm lacking creatively. These are some of the things that I go to when I need that creative boost. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to leave with a little positive affirmation since we're talking about inspiration and creative blocks. Well, we're not saying creative blocks, creative breakthroughs, right? Let me see what affirmation is coming to me. I am a great artist. I create from my heart and I create from my spirit. What I create matters and what I make is good. There's no pressure. I get to just be, I get to just exist, I get to just create whatever comes to me. That's the affirmation. Oh, yay! Okay, if you guys like this video or want to see more like this, don't forget to do all the things like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to do a part 2 to this video. I didn't want to put too many tips into this video because sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, and I figured it'd be good to just start with a few and see if these work for you. And if they don't, come back. I'll have another video up. It might be up right now. If it is, I'll put it up here, and enjoy. Thanks for watching. Bye.